welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. The January window is getting closer and closer, and while Elliot Anderson and Carlos Baleba are seen more as summer targets, you never know what could happen in January. Baleba isn't in the greatest form. Elliot Anderson believed to be cheaper than what we first thought, but both players are keen to join Manchester United. Reports that both players would want to join Manchester United. David Ornstein giving a particular update on Carlos Baleba today, confirming Manchester United and Carlos Baleba. It's still ongoing. Carlos Baleba still likes the idea of Manchester United. We will talk about that. We've been linked to a young 16-year-old midfielder as well that United might look to bring in, and more. So I hope you guys are all doing well. We are on the international break. I know the international break can be a little bit boring. And I have to say, when you play one game a week and then you have the international break, it just feels like we've barely played this season. There is talk of us doing some mid-season friendlies, la la la. But I have to say, I feel like we haven't had enough games this season as well. Also, there's a few other bits and bobs going around in Manchester United news. We will talk about, obviously, some youth players. We'll talk about Sekou Kone. We'll talk about the future of the club and other rumours and stories. But obviously, I want to start today by talking about Elliot Anderson. I want to start with a story that I actually spoke about last week because it links with today's story. And that is that Elliot Anderson wants a Manchester United move. And we also know that Carlos Baleba does. So, this was reports coming out in regards to Elliot Anderson. United have made Anderson their top January target to strengthen the midfield. The club are preparing a major bid and confident a deal can be done. Elliot Anderson is keen to join United, with United seeing him as the perfect fit for Amorim's energetic style. Nottingham Forest value him at 80 million, but United believe they can sign Elliot Anderson for 60 million. If Man United went out in January and signed Elliot Anderson for 60 million, I think I would literally stand up and applaud Ineos and say, how on earth have you pulled that up? I pulled this off. I don't know. I don't think we're going to be able to get Elliot Anderson in January for anything less than 100 million. There's a feeling he could be available for 80 million in January. Do you want to spend that kind of money on Elliot Anderson? Who knows? But there's a severe drop-off when Casemiro leaves the midfield. And right now, after watching Baleba play this season, I don't even know if I want Baleba too much anymore. So obviously there was that report. Now this report's come out from Team Talk, who are a little bit of a take with a pinch of salt piece of information, but it obviously links to other reports that Elliot Anderson wants a Man United move and he's United's top target. However, most reliable sources are saying he wants the move and Man United want him, but January is unlikely. Team Talk say United are confident a deal can be done and preparing a bid. I think a deal can be done in the summer. I don't think Man United are making a bid for Elliot Anderson, and I don't think anything can be done in January. But the player's keen to join. He's given the green light that he's keen to join. United want him. His price tag isn't expected to be as high as some people first thought, and there's definitely possibility for a deal. Elliot Anderson could be cheaper in the summer in comparison to this January. Do not be surprised if it's significantly lower than 100 million. I mean, people say Agate plus 60 million. Some people say 60 million. 60 million is a ridiculous price. I think 80 million is probably what he will go for. But I think 60, if you could get him for 60 million, that's nuts. I think Baleba, with his current form, shouldn't be any more than 60 million. It'll be interesting to see if Brighton do consider cashing in or selling Baleba due to his current form. But I have to say, 60 million for Elliot Anderson would be dream ball. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it would probably be more like 80 to 100 million as well. Suppose they might sell if they're worried about relegation. I think they would sell if they got relegated. If they were worried about relegation, they'd keep him because he'd be so key to keep them up. I think Baleba could easily do a Rashford flop at Brighton, but play his heart out at Man United. The only reason why I would still be slightly interested, I agree. I think he could come to United and be a different player. But I do want a player that's at the top of their game coming to United, not someone that's had a crap season. Like, if Brighton are like, yeah, Baleba's been crap this season, we'll sell him 50 million. Of course, you look at it and you think, okay. But look, Baleba took 6 months to get going at Brighton. Baleba's first 6 months at Brighton wasn't great. But then last season he was fantastic, and this season he hasn't been great. So Baleba does seem to be a very hot and cold player, maybe a confidence player, and maybe United just don't want to take that risk. Gibbs White's been doing it for years, was 60 to 70 million, so why would Anderson be 100 million? People don't even know who he was until he got chose for England. Because Gibbs White plays in a 10 role and had a release clause, and basically Tottenham triggered Gibbs White's 60 million release clause, and Mr. Marinakis was fuming because he knows he wanted like 100 million for Gibbs White, and that's what happened. If Gibbs White didn't have that release clause, Forest would have wanted 100 million for Gibbs White. Elliot Anderson is younger, and the position that Elliot Anderson plays is a lot deeper than Gibbs White. And that position, you look at Caicedo, you look at Enzo Fernandez, you look at Declan Rice, you look at the money that people go for on that deeper position. It's honestly like the most expensive position on the pitch. So Elliot Anderson, you could argue Gibbs White had a 60 million release clause, so should Elliot Anderson. But that was a release clause, and Forest found a way over stopping that deal happen because Forest knew they could probably get 100 mil. Forest knew they could probably get 100 mil for Gibbs White. Maybe not 100 mil, but Tottenham were easy willing to pay 60. I think Forest thought they could easily get 80 to 100 mil, and they didn't want to sell for 60, really. The sad reality of all our targets, Wharton, Anderson, Baleba, is all the big clubs are circling these players. We need Champions League this year. I agree, or at least some kind of Europa League pool. I agree. Mr. Marinakis will want 100 million potentially, but he could be a bit cheaper as well. Anyway, yes. These international breaks are a joke. All I'm saying is we should have an international break in November, and it should be a 2-week international break, and it should be 2 games. And then we should have an international break in March, and it should be a 2-week international break and 2 games. We do not need 2 games in October. We do not need 2 games in September, and we do not need 2 games in June. Unless there's a World Cup tournament coming up, then you want the ones in June, of course. The international break, get rid of the September one, get rid of the October one. It's a piss take. Apparently, they're going to be 3-week international breaks next year, but there's going to be less of them. 3 weeks. God, it's going to be the longest 3 weeks of my life. Alice, are we not buying players in Jan because there's mixed reports? Good question. So I will tell you what I know. I was actually speaking to somebody that's very well connected within the club, and they said it's about opportunities. They said, we want to invest in January. We want to give Ruben Amorim the best chance possible of getting European football. Ineos want to back Ruben Amorim. They want to give him the best chance possible of getting European football, and they want to do business in January. It will depend on injuries, it will depend on departures, but most importantly, it depends on who's available. If Man United could get Elliot Anderson for £60 million in January, Manchester United would be there tomorrow with a bid. I'm telling you this now. If we could get Elliot Anderson for £60 million in January, we'll be there tomorrow with a bid. We're not doing anything because we don't think we can get him for £60 million in January. I think that would be nuts to think that. If United strongly believe that they can get one of their targets from midfield in January, they will be there. Now having a look at strikers and look at wing backs, but they will. Conor Gallagher's the only realistic one. United aren't convinced on him. So it's a situation of United want to do something in January. They will be looking around. They will be looking at the market. They will be looking at who's available. But it's not, let's bring him in for the sake of it, an extra body, Weghorst, Sabitzer type signing. It's no, we want, like, if we're going to make a January signing, we want it to be like when we signed Bruno Fernandes. Someone that is coming in for the future. Not your Ighalo's, not your Weghorst, not this, not that. Do you know what I mean? United wants someone that's for the future as well. We need a complete revamp of midfield in Jan and summer because next season will be the last chance for Project 150. We need UCL and top 3 title charge next season to win in 27-28. I mean, the dream. Look, the way I look at it is, and I spoke about it in my video yesterday, is we've got Sekou Kone and Christian Orozco for the youth. We've got Maino, who's the current future. While Bruno and Casemiro and Agate may go, you have Elliot Anderson, you have Wharton, you have Maino, you have Orozco, you have Sekou Kone, and potentially someone like Agate, Casemiro, or Bruno stays for another season. I think the midfield is in a good place. Alice, I want you to be the next manager of Man United. I don't think you would. I don't have any manager experience. I don't think I'd be great. I could sit there and I could say I would play this team and I'd play that formation, but there's so much more that goes into management, like training sessions, pressing. There's so much more that goes into it than you think. Would I like to be manager of Man United? Yes. Do I think I do a good job? Probably not, because I have no manager experience, apart from actually managing my local over 35s team. Anyway, let's continue into other bits and bobs, because we've got a bit more on Elliot Anderson, and then we're going to talk about Baleba, because the Baleba story is particularly what I want to talk about, because it's obviously come from David Ornstein. I think United will go for 2 central midfield players, probably in the summer. Elliot Anderson is one who would be well positioned at the moment for Man United. We know Man United want a midfielder. I said it in my video yesterday. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed Manchester United want to go out and sign a midfielder. In 2026, we will sign a midfielder in 2026. We want two. We don't just want one midfielder, we want two. Whether those two will be Baleba and Elliot Anderson, whether it be Elliot Anderson and maybe someone a bit cheaper like Stiller, or Elliot Anderson and someone a bit cheaper like João Gomez, I don't know. But United's goal is to go out and sign two midfielders, but it's always said probably going to be the summer. We've recently been linked to João Gomez, but again, it's constantly been said probably going to be the summer. But we've had loads of reliable sources say we're going for a midfielder, we want two midfielders, this is what we want, bish, bash, bosh. If we're looking at midfield recruits, is it dependent on Bruno staying? I think if Bruno and Casemiro stay, I could see us just signing one midfielder like Elliot Anderson. But I think if a midfielder leaves, we will sign two. And the reason I think we will sign two, even if Bruno and Casemiro stay, is because there's uncertainty over Ugarte, there's uncertainty over Maino. Casemiro's aging, Bruno's aging. I think we will sign two, but I think if we don't lose a single midfielder, there's a possibility to sign one. But what I think we're going to do with Ugarte is what we did with Lamont and Onana and Højlund and Sesko. I think what we're going to do with Ugarte is we're going to not put Ugarte in the bomb squad. Ugarte is going to be there, but we're going to go bring in Elliot Anderson and tell Ugarte, like we did to Onana, we brought in Lamont, and like we did to Højlund, we brought in Sesko, you're not really going to get many minutes. You might want to look at finding a move. Because Højlund didn't want to go and Onana didn't want to go. And we didn't force them out. We didn't put them in the bomb squad because obviously that weakens their position. We're like, that's fine, but we'll just buy a replacement and it's up to you if you want to stay and probably not get any minutes. So then both players were like, oh, well, we're not going to get minutes now, so I might as well leave. They wouldn't have left if we didn't. Onana wouldn't have left if we didn't sign Lamont. Højlund wouldn't have left if we didn't sign Sesko. Højlund was thinking, if I don't leave, they're not going to have the money to sign Sesko, so I can stay. Man United were like, nah, don't work that way, mate. F off. Same with Onana. So I think what we'll do is we'll sign a midfielder, push Ugarte out, and potentially sign another midfielder. But there is rumours that Casemiro won't stay because of his contract. There is rumours that Bruno's got a 60 million release clause and could go to Saudi. Hayden Hackney interest has sort of died down. I think United want someone with a bit more Prem experience. Yeah. Do you think Mantato and Overy could get called up next season? Both have been immense, have been getting chances in their respective national teams. Yeah, definitely. I think particularly with the ability to play at wing back, I think there's definitely one to watch there. Like, I love Casemiro and he's absolutely been fantastic this season, but he is on 300 grand a week. And for me, we want to be. I don't want anybody at this club on 300 grand a week. Unless we had Prime Lamine Yamal, do you know what I mean? I don't want anyone at this club at 300 grand a week. If we sign Anderson, Baleba, is Kobe gone? I'd say no, because I think Bruno and Casemiro will go. I think Ugarte could go. And I think we'll be in Europa League next season, so there'll be rotations between Anderson, Baleba, and Kobe. I also think that Kobe partners them very well, to be honest. I think if Bruno goes, there's the opportunities there for Kobe. I think if Bruno stays, that's when we have to look at a Kobe loan. So yeah, anyway, let's continue on into some more stories and updates, because obviously this story has come out from the very reliable David Ornstein. So David Ornstein said this on who he would sign if he was managing United. Now, this is what is interesting about the story. He said Carlos Baleba, because they want him, he wants them. Brighton don't want to let go, but let's see what the future holds. Brighton might be more willing to let go after his form, but Brighton aren't going to let anyone know if they're willing to let go because they want as much money as possible. Ornstein said, because Man United want Baleba and Baleba wants Manchester United, out of Ornstein's mouth. We know that Elliot Anderson is open to the Manchester United move and willing to join Man United, but we know that Baleba wants this move. We know that Baleba's pushing for this move. We know that Baleba, according to some reports, has told Brighton he wants to be allowed to go to Manchester United in 2026. Elliot Anderson, yeah, he wants the move. He's open to the move, but he hasn't done what Baleba's done and been made it sort of known to his club he wants that move. And, David Ornstein probably sees Baleba still as the most realistic target for Man United because the player wants us and we still want him despite recent form. We know there's a lot going on as well in regards to Baleba and Man United. There's conversations. The player's unsettled. Will United go back in for Baleba after the season he's had? I don't know. But David Ornstein's saying, well, we still want him. Even though Baleba's not had the best season, Ornstein is saying, well, we still want him. And Baleba still wants us. And it is looking like the most realistic potential deal. Yeah. Alice Baleba or Elliot Anderson? I mean, if you'd asked me that 3 months ago, I'd have said Baleba. But for me, it'll be Elliot Anderson. It'll be Elliot Anderson. Not sure if Cobby starts over Baleba and Anderson though. I think he would rotate very well with them. I think he'd complement them well. He doesn't. The thing is with Cobby, he's more advanced, and I see Elliot Anderson and Baleba as deeper players. So if anything, I almost see Elliot Anderson and Baleba more competing. I think Elliot Anderson's proved he could do it on the ball, but I think Cobby could start in that. To be honest, sell Bruno, release Casemiro, loan Ugarte. We get Anderson and another midfielder, probably more defensive one. We can't let a talent like Cobby not play, says George. I think when you look at Orozco, Seko Kone, Cobby, Elliot Anderson, Baleba, I think one of our other midfielders will stay. I mean, I think that's quite exciting for the future. Some bloke says if we lose Maino, it'll be like losing Scholes. I rate Maino, but that's a bit far-fetched. I guess you can argue it's far-fetched. I think Maino is the best academy talent we've produced in a while. We're just not seeing it because he's not getting the minutes and opportunity to see it. But I think when you look at what Cobby did at 18 years of age in that Ten Hag side when he broke into the team and what he did for England in that semi-final, it's nuts what he could be. But we've not seen that in a year, which is the sad truth. It's nuts what he can be, but I think maybe he needs a loan, to be honest. There is other updates coming in on Baleba, like this news update here, that Manchester United aim to sign Carlos Baleba. Whatever happens with Amorim, Baleba's viewed as ideal for the club's midfield and future. And you might be going, Alice, why are you bringing up the story? You know, team talks a bit, blah, 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 blah. But that is the truth. Man United aren't bringing in players specifically for Amorim. Man United are bringing in players that they know Amorim will want and will work in their system. But the signings Man United are making are players that if we did sack Amorim and brought in another manager, they're good players another manager can work with. They're players with the right technical and athletic traits for the Premier League. Like Man United is trying to make it quite clear. We're bringing in players that are good players that could work under multiple managers. It's not we're bringing in him for Ruben Amorim because we know Baleba and Elliot Anderson is probably there's about 100 managers out there that want Baleba and Elliot Anderson. So United are not doing Baleba because Amorim wants him. United are looking at Baleba and Anderson because they're top midfielders. So regardless of who the manager is, they're midfielders that I think any manager would want. And I think that's a smart approach. Such a smart approach. As a fan, I'd rather keep Casemiro on 350k a week than Ugarte. I mean, right now, there's a part of me that agrees with you, but I don't want Casemiro on that kind of money because his legs do go. Casemiro is great, one game a week for 70 minutes, but then his legs just go. They just go, to be honest. So what do we know? So we know that both Elliot Anderson and Manchester United are keen on a Man United move. Elliot Anderson and Baleba. What's going on today? We know that both Elliot Anderson and Baleba are keen on a Man United move. David Ornstein has mentioned and made it very clear Baleba still wants Manchester United and Manchester United want Baleba. Team Talk and other sources have confirmed that Elliot Anderson is open to a Manchester United move. Andy Mitten and Ben Jacobs have confirmed that United really like Elliot Anderson and he could be cheaper than 100 million. We know that Anderson and Baleba are both open to Manchester United moves. The green light is there in the perspective of the players that are essentially open to joining. There's a green light sort of there on the player side, but it's the price and it's the availability. Are they available in January? It's not seen as likely. What is the price? We know the players are open to the move. We know that we want the players, but we also know there's competition. What is the price? Are they available in January? It's not believed they are going to be available in January. That seems to be the situation. But isn't there an issue with experience? Look at any top midfield in the Premier League. They need, I think that's why I think one of Casemiro and Bruno will stay. I don't think we'll sell both Casemiro and Bruno in the same window. I think there needs to be experience. I think Anderson has a certain level of experience. Baleba is still very raw. Maino's still very raw. We don't know what Seko Kone is going to be like. We don't know what Christian Orozco is going to be like. So I do agree. I think I've named those 5 midfielders, but we definitely need an experienced player in there. An experienced Prem player in there at least. I do think experience in the midfield is important. I mean, obviously, Caicedo and Elliot Anderson weren't necessarily the most experienced midfield. Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez necessarily wasn't the most experienced midfield, and it works well for Chelsea. But I do agree, experience is key. I think Gravenberch, his first season in the Prem was a bit iffy. His second season was phenomenal. It's taken Szoboszlai 2 seasons to get going to this kind of form when Liverpool did their huge midfield rebuild of bringing in Endo, Emma McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch in the same window. And that transformed Liverpool's midfield, and that won Liverpool, for me, the title last year. This is Man United's midfield rebuild summer. This is our midfield rebuild summer. When Liverpool went and got McAllister and Gravenberch and Soboslai and Endo. We need to go and do our Elliot Anderson and Baleba. We need to rebuild that midfield. We need to build a midfield that's fresh. I think we need experience. I think you need Prem experience. I think you need physicality. I think you need technicality. I think you need the perfect blend of youth, technicality, experience, Prem experience. But yeah, I've not seen him at the World Cup, but apparently he's just monstrous. He apparently is a beast. He's a mini Caicedo. Apparently he's so good. He's so technical. I might go and see if I can watch a little bit of the new signing, our new midfield signing, because at under 17s level, he apparently is just like a different kind of gravy. 2 centre mids would be such a massive boost. It'd be a huge boost. It'd be a huge boost. It'd be a massive boost in January because I do think we need it in January, but I think it's going to happen in the summer. Sky Sports have come out and said via Rob Dorset and Darnish that United are prioritising a new midfielder in the summer. Baleba, Anderson and Watt, another 3 players we admire, and that those moves are unlikely in January. But I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it if we could get those deals done. I'd absolutely love it if we could get someone like Elliot Anderson or Baleba in January, because I think we need a midfielder in January, because every time Casemiro comes off the pitch is what happens. Anyway, I want to quickly talk about Matthijs de Ligt, because how much better has Matthijs de Ligt been this season? I think Matthijs de Ligt has been absolutely mint this season, and he's sort of been speaking about his season and his form. And I thought, I know this is a bit off topic, but I want to give de Ligt some credit. De Ligt says, I'm 26 now, and I think I'm entering the best years of my career, both physically and mentally. I've changed my mindset. Initially, I didn't want to make mistakes. Now I want to do good things, as many good things as possible. So de Ligt is saying he's 26. He's in his prime. People spoke about de Ligt 3 years ago if he was a flop. You know when de Ligt went to Juventus 4 years ago, people were like, de Ligt's a flop. He never lived up to the hype. De Ligt was a 22-year-old centre-back, had some injury issues, was hot and cold at Juventus, and 4 years ago, people wrote him off at 22 years of age. Nuts. De Ligt's only 26. De Ligt is literally in his prime now. We've got another 6 years of prime de Ligt. You know, he's saying, I didn't want to make mistakes initially, but he's got experience. He's growing confidence. He's literally in his best years now. He said, I've had quite a few injuries in recent years, which has shaken my confidence in my body. This year, I was able to do full preparation. Plus, I know the club and competition better. I feel more confident. I can be more dominant. This is his first proper preseason in ages where he hasn't had an injury or a World Cup. He got his preseason. He got in his best shape. He's got the confidence. He's had a bigger spell without getting a proper injury. He's feeling confident. You know, de Ligt has been mint. This is a guy for the first time ever that's had a preseason that is literally entering his prime years. That some people have tried to call a flop at 20, 21, 22 because he didn't hit the ground running at Juventus. It's nuts. It's nuts. I actually don't think we realise what a good bit of business we've maybe done with de Ligt. I think he will be captain if Bruno loses. I think de Ligt will be captain if Bruno goes. He's played every minute of every game this season. He's the one centre-back that Amorim won't drop. He's been so good. And when you think about it, he's just turned 26. De Ligt, when we signed him, was entering his prime. Like, this guy's got 5 probably good years in him. 5, 6 good years in him. Like, we've signed a guy who was always a good player, but just wasn't quite there yet. But he was young and had so many injuries. He's now no longer super young. And he's now had a bit more experience, and he's now no longer getting those injuries. He's now having those pre-seasons, and he looks like an unbelievable footballer. He's been one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League this season. He looks like an unbelievable player. You know, he's been playing the centre-back roles very well. Like, I had mixed opinions when we signed de Ligt. I thought, former Eric Ten Hag player, here we go again. But de Ligt has been monstrous. Everyone was doing Maguire envisionment 3 weeks ago because he scored against Liverpool. I said, cool, Maguire got a goal against Liverpool. Maguire's been good. But Maguire hasn't been anywhere near as good as de Ligt this season. It took a de Ligt goal for people to finally give him credit for being our best centre-back this season. And if I was to name the top 3 centre-backs in the Premier League this season, I would name Gabriel, Van de Ven and Matthijs de Ligt. I don't think there's been 3 better centre-backs than them. I think Malik Chow of Newcastle looks mint. Malik Chow's good. Van de Ven, de Ligt, yeah. Obviously Gabriel. But yeah, I love de Ligt. He also mentioned that one big factor of him improving this year is due to confidence and fitness due to good pre-season, which brings me on to Baleba, who had a bad pre-season, which is true. Baleba didn't have a pre-season. Maybe Baleba with a pre-season, we'd see the good Baleba. Maybe we would. But it's good to see that de Ligt's getting better with seasons. And I think the difference, being fit and having a pre-season can make for a player like De Ligt has been sitting. He's gone a spell without getting injured. He's had his first pre-season in years. He's confident. He knows the league. Like, he's been really good. He's really stepped up this season. And I have to say, I've been very impressed with De Ligt and everything that we've seen from De Ligt this season. I think he's really looking like unbelievable business, because I think he was 40 million. And you can see why over 60,000 Bayern Munich fans signed a petition. You can see why 60,000 Bayern Munich fans signed a petition to keep De Ligt. He just looks monstrous. He just looks good. Anyway, people, I just wanted to do a 25-minute live show to talk about the midfield scenario and then just go through those De Ligt interview quotes and give De Ligt a little bit of praise. Big up to everybody who obviously is tuned into today's show. I'm going to redirect you over to Never a Foul, so make sure to give them a raid. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.